It's a grudge match that's been 3 years in the making. Sarah Kaufman graduates to the big show, and the Punk plans to give Jay-Z 99 problems. Welcome to the Fight Network's preview of Diaz vs. Nunes 2.
I'm curious, I'm anxious.
Welcome to the Fight Network's preview of Strikeforce, Diaz vs. Nunes 2. I'm your host, John Pollock, and we're getting you all set for the action this Saturday night in San Jose, California at the HP Pavilion. In just a few minutes, Fight Network MMA analyst John Ramdeen will be joining me as we run down the main card bouts, which are going to include Sarah Kaufman defending the Women's Welterweight Championship, a pivotal lightweight bout for Josh "the Punk" Thomson, and the main event will feature a rematch that's been 3 years in the making and no shortage of bad blood. Nick Diaz will make the first defense of his Strikeforce Welterweight Championship Saturday night when his championship reign and 7-fight win streak is challenged by the last man to hold a W over Diaz, the 10-2 KJ Nunes. Since taking a 2-year hiatus, Nunes has returned to mixed martial arts with a solid string of 3 consecutive victories in 2010, most recently stopping George Gesias and earning a title shot of his choosing as he opted to move up in weight to meet the 22-7 resident of Stockton, California.
Eu quero que o KJ Nunes vença, né? Eu também não gosto do Nick Diaz, acho ele metido pra caramba, mas eu acho que o KJ Nunes vai vencer ele.
In 2003, Nick Diaz made his UFC debut, winning the rubber match against Ultimate Fighter Season 4 alumni Jeremy Jackson. In his first 5 fights inside of the octagon, the Stockton, California native recorded an impressive 4-1 record, defeating the likes of Drew Fickett, deep veteran Koji Yoshi, and the hard-hitting Robbie Lawler. The Ultimate Fighter Season 2 finale, Diaz would lose to Ultimate Fighter 1 winner Diego Sanchez in an exciting battle. The Cesar Gracie product would go winless in his next 2 bouts, losing to Sean Shirk and Joe Riggs. After the Riggs fight at UFC 57, Diaz and Diesel continued their battle at the hospital to the dismay of the UFC, establishing Diaz as one of the sport's bad boys. After leaving the Ultimate Fighting Championship, BJJ Black Belt would have success against some lesser-known talent. The outspoken fighter continued to improve in all aspects of the sport and showcased a dangerous stand-up game in addition to his lethal submission prowess and world-class conditioning. In February of 2007, Diaz was set to lock horns with Pride FC lightweight champion Takanori Gomi. In a battle for the ages, Diaz cemented his place as one of the most entertaining fighters on the planet when he secured a gogoplata choke, forcing the Japanese star to submit. Subsequently, Diaz would test positive for marijuana, and the decision was overturned to a no contest by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. The news would paint Diaz as a thug and a troublemaker, although he feels that he was unjustly convicted. Diaz would slowly climb the rankings and prove to be one of the most talented fighters in his weight class. After winning a close decision to Mike Heine at the Elite XC Uprising event, the then 24-year-old would square off against Hawaiian slugger KJ Nunes. Diaz brought his A-game, but Nunes executed the perfect game plan and damaged the eyes of Diaz, forcing the TKO stoppage.
Nick Diaz not happy with the decision. KJ Nunes is your new Elite XC 160-pound world champion.
Irate with the decision, the ornery Diaz stormed out of the cage, leaving a message to the boxer-turned-MMA fighter, as well as the viewing audience, further fueling his image as a bad boy. Meanwhile, after the biggest win of his career, Nunes would get a crack at ATT member Eve Edwards for the Elite XC lightweight crown. In less than a minute, Nunes blasted through the Texan, sending shockwaves through the 155-pound division. After the match, Nunes' moment in the sun was ruined, as Diaz and his entourage entered the cage, and chaos ensued.
Chaos is ensuing here in the cage of the Blaisdell Arena. KJ Nunes, Nick Diaz, again living up to his reputation as the bad boy of mixed martial arts, the Diaz brothers, public enemies #1 in Hawaii.
Also at 27 years of age, Diaz has entered into the prime of his career, and since his loss to Nunes has gone 7 straight, stopping every one of his adversaries.
Oh, the armbar! The armbar! It's trouble! It's good night, Irene!
If Nunes can topple the man some pundits consider top 10 in the world, he could establish himself as the true King Carl.
John Ramdeen is here to break down Strikeforce this Saturday night, and in the main event, John, it's a rematch from November of 2007. Nick Diaz and KJ Nunes. I think you can expect a lot of stalling, a lot of eating the clock, a lot of lay and pray in this fight.
You mean a typical Nick Diaz fight?
Oh yeah, so boring.
Nick Diaz is obviously the most entertaining, if not one of the most entertaining fighters in the world. A great style. He always comes forward. That's the thing that people love about Nick Diaz. The guy doesn't stall. He continues to move forward, and he impresses people with his hands. And that's what he needs to do in this fight against KJ Nunes. He has to keep Nunes on the outside, use his long reach, because KJ Nunes, great movement and big power in his hands.
Yeah, and we both know these guys are going to want to stand and test one another on their feet, and 2 very, very varying degrees of boxing skill.
Exactly, and the difference
difference for KJ Noons, though, he has to use his wrestling skills to try to get Nick Diaz on the ground. So he'll use his hands to try to set up the takedown. But again, if he takes Nick Diaz to the ground, he's stuck in Nick Diaz's guard, and he's one of the most dangerous fighters off of his back. So I think KJ Noons will use his wrestling to keep this fight standing and try to go for the knockout or the TKO or try to cut Nick Diaz up. But Nick Diaz has such a well-rounded skill set, he can take the fight wherever he needs to take it.
Now, their first fight, it ended after Diaz had a cut that would not allow him to continue after that first round. Since that time, Diaz has not lost a fight, had the facial surgery to correct that problem, shaving down his bones in his forehead. Since that time, Diaz has really become one of the top pound-for-pound fighters, and I think this is going to be quite the exclamation point going back to that fight from November.
I agree. You talk about one of the pound-for-pound best. It's because he's also got that physical mass. You know, you look at his earlier career, he was just a young guy. The natural age, the natural weight, he's where he needs to be, 170 pounds. I had a chance to talk to Firas Zahabi, and he is very impressed with this guy. He knows how dangerous he is, and this guy could challenge Georges St-Pierre if they ever make up that fight. But of course, Strikeforce UFC, it's like oil and water, so I don't think it'll ever happen.
Before we get your prediction, KJ Noons, he won his fight with George Gurgel earlier this summer. He was offered a title shot either at 170 or 155, opting for this rematch with Diaz and moving up to 170, the highest weight he's ever fought at. Is it a mistake for Noons to be going up to 170?
KJ Noons is a guy in control of his own destiny. He knows that this is the big money fight. He's a professional fighter, so he'll do whatever it takes to get the big fights because he's a star in the making. You just look at the guy, picture perfect, tailor-made for the screen, and he's got the fighting abilities, and he's a real fighter just like Nick Diaz. So it's a perfect matchup, and if he wins this fight, everybody will notice KJ Noons.
So do we see Nick Diaz make a successful defense of the Strikeforce welterweight gold, or does KJ Noons claim his second victory over Nick?
I think Nick Diaz will win this fight and set up the rubber match. I think it's going to be an explosive matchup, and Nick Diaz, if you talk to him, he didn't even lose that first fight. He lost because of the rules, because of the cut. This is the real fight in his opinion.
In lightweight action in San Jose Saturday night, it's going to be former champion Josh Thomson, who holds a record of 17 wins, 3 losses, and 1 no contest, meeting a fighter in Gesias Cavalcante, who at one time was considered one of the top lightweights in the world, who's hoping to make a big statement Saturday that he is back and a force at 155. Thomson recently submitted Pat Healy, while Cavalcante's lone fight in 2010 saw him score a split decision victory over Katsunori Kakuno at Dream 15 in July.
Once sitting at the top of the Strikeforce lightweight mountain, Josh Thomson found himself plagued with a number of injuries that kept the fan-friendly AKA product on the shelf. Still with Strikeforce gold around his waist, Thomson returned to the cage and faced a stiff test in the highly touted Gilbert Melendez.
Gil, you ready? Josh, you ready? Let's fight!
Despite a year of absence, Thomson put forth a gutsy effort.
Oh, body shot ripped by Thomson. Nice combination delivered by the block, getting the fade a bit. There's an overhand right. Thompson's on his back. Melendez going in for the kill.
But it was not enough to put away the Cesar Gracie pupil.
Again, the Strikeforce lightweight world champion Gilbert and Nino Melendez.
Due to the loss, Thomson now finds himself climbing up the lightweight mountain, one plateau at a time.
38 seconds to go in the third round. Healy's head is turning blue.
That's a
He taps.
With an influx of challengers from abroad, Thomson is intent on proving his worth in a landscape that once belonged to him.
The whole, they have the top guys in the world, I really beg to differ.
Thomson will get a chance to back up his words when he takes on a former K1 Heroes Grand Prix champion. Flashy, exciting, and explosive are 3 adjectives that can be used to describe Japanese mixed martial arts. And coincidentally, they can also be used to describe Jay-Z Cavalcante.
You know, I think we're just completely different fighters. I mean, he's shorter, he's stockier, he's probably going to be stronger than me.
Cavalcante is a notoriously difficult opponent who possesses a slick submission game that he couples with crisp and effective striking. This Brazilian made waves in Japan after capturing the K1 Heroes Grand Prix Middleweight Championship consecutively in 2006 and 2007. One of American Top Team's shining stars, Cavalcante credits his team's solidarity for his success.
But ATT is like, it's my hometown, I mean, it's my house. I stay there like almost, like even when I was injured, I was there supporting people, helping, you know. I love to be there.
Much like his opponent on Saturday night, Cavalcante has experienced a number of injuries that have set him back, leaving him off the lightweight radar.
So I need to come back and fight, you know, and people are going to see where I belong to.
Upon making his debut under the Strikeforce banner, Cavalcante is confident that he will replicate the success he had in Japan and will look forth to put a better effort than his rival and fellow dream compatriot, Shinya Aoki.
Crowd reacting visibly.
It is a bout between high-octane lightweights that stylistically should provide fistic fireworks.
Two totally different styles gonna clash, and we're just gonna see what happens. I mean, you know, flip a coin. Let's see.
The reward weighs heavily for the victor of this fight, and though these two former 155-pound champions find themselves fighting in one of the sport's deepest divisions, the winner will certainly raise his stock and immediately catapult himself into the title picture.
John, this is a big lightweight bout for Josh "the Punk" Thomson, looking for a third fight with Gilbert Melendez. He's got JZ Cavalcante. Thomson coming off a very tough win against Pat Healy, who's a guy that doesn't always get the accolades at lightweight, but a very, very tough test for Thomson.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you look at any of those guys coming out of Team Quest, one thing is synonymous. They're all grinders, and that always doesn't look pretty when you see it on television, because they have this suffocating style that doesn't lend itself to getting punched in the face. They use their wrestling skills to take down the ground and go for the ground and pound. So entertaining for purists, but not always for the casual fan.
Moving over to JZ Cavalcante, fighting out of American Top Team. He was at one point considered one of the top lightweights in the world, had knee surgery, and he really hasn't lit 155 on fire since that time. So a very important fight for him here on Saturday night.
Well, John, the 155-pound division is so deep, and this is his way to get back into that division and get noticed. A win over Josh Thomson will send a message to the rest of the lightweight division in Strikeforce or the UFC. Josh Thomson really does have skills in all areas. His stand-up is there. His wrestling is there, and his submission game is there, and I think the wrestling aspect is going to be where Josh Thomson can win this fight, put the Brazilian on his back and work the ground and pound and try to attack him from there. If JZ Cavalcante can keep this fight standing, I think he can compete with Josh Thomson.
Is it safe to assume that with a convincing victory by Thomson on Saturday night that he will be in line for a future title shot in a third fight with Gilbert Melendez?
Yeah, I think it makes sense, but one thing you have to look at is that there is a big rumor right now that Gilbert Melendez will be going to Japan to take on Shinya Aoki, and if Shinya Aoki manages to win against Gilbert Melendez, a third fight with those two makes more sense than a third fight right now with Josh Thomson.
I heard Aoki refuses to fight in title fights, though.
Yeah, that's the word. Well, that's what he shows every time in his fights anyways.
Your prediction for Saturday night?
I will have to say the Punk, although he doesn't want to be called the Punk anymore, will win by unanimous decision. I think Cavalcante is too tough to be taken out, but Josh Thomson will push the pace and win by probably 30-27 scores.
He's picking Josh the Snob Thomson. The Strikeforce Women's Welterweight Championship will be on the line Saturday when undefeated champion Sarah Kaufman meets 17-4 Marloes Coenen. Kaufman became the inaugural 135-pound champion this past February, defeating Takeo Hashi and defending her title this past July. Coenen, who fights out of Holland's Golden Glory team, made her debut with the Strikeforce organization last November with a submission victory over Roxanne Modafferi, and then ran into a brick wall named Christiane Cyborg Santos this past January before choosing to move down to 135 pounds.
Mixed martial arts has begun to earn the acceptance of the mainstream media. However, not all facets of the sport enjoy the limelight. Women's MMA is one aspect that struggles to maintain its identity simply due to a lack of competition. However, the Strikeforce promotion has given hope to a number of female competitors and a showground to display their talents.
I originally got into mixed martial arts just for something fun to do. I have a dance background, and so when I was about 17, Adam Zucek opened up Zuma Martial Arts directly below my dance studio, and started out with just a Muay Thai class once a week for fun, and just from there couldn't stop, and added in the next year a couple more classes, and then from there MMA happened.
Victoria, BC native Sarah Kaufman has become the face of Strikeforce's 135-pound women's division after dispatching a number of top-ranked opponents on her successful run in the Strikeforce Challenger Series.
Sarah Kaufman!
After defeating Takeo Hashi and capturing the Women's Welterweight Championship, the Canadian Kaufman would go on to beat the well-traveled Roxanne Modafferi.
Modafferi very active on the bottom, and Kaufman picks it up! And wow, the powerbomb slam! It's over! Mamma mia!
after ending the fight with an exclamation point, Kaufman's pleas to participate on a main card were finally heard.
Get me on main cards on Showtime, guys. I think I deserve it. Get me in there, I'll fight anyone.
On Saturday night, Kaufman will get her wish and defend her title for the second time against an opponent who is no stranger to the big lights.
Marloes Coenen.
Training at a Golden Glory alongside some of the world's most decorated strikers, Coenen has been dubbed the female Hickson for her punishing ground game and dangerous submissions. A great compliment comparing her to MMA legend Hickson Gracie.
Trying to get those hips out and trap that arm. Watch out, tap out, just like that. Armbar.
Following a tough loss to current 145-pound women's champion Chris Cyborg Santos, Marloes Coenen looks to reinvent herself in the 135-pound division, where size could play to her advantage, as she will possess a 4-inch reach advantage over the champion. Despite being presented with another title shot coming off a loss, Coenen is the best possible challenger for Kaufman in a division that's still in its infancy. It will be an interesting clash of styles as striker meets grappler on Saturday night.
John, the Strikeforce Women's Welterweight Championship is up for grabs as Sarah Kaufman defends against Marloes Coenen. We saw Coenen debut for the promotion in 2009 and then fight Christiane Cyborg Santos earlier this year. Coming down to 135 pounds, I think a very positive step in her career.
I agree, because 145-pound Cyborg is the champion there, and I don't think anybody really wants to fight Cyborg, although Sarah Kaufman isn't an easy test either. This is the girl that has skills in all areas. Her stand-up game is awesome, her jiu-jitsu is awesome, her wrestling is awesome, and she's a girl that wants to win. So it's going to be a tough test for Coenen. It comes down to who has the better overall game on Saturday night.
And Coenen, of course, trains out of Golden Glory in Holland, a very, very solid stand-up game, and I think that is where this fight is going to be tested and where Kaufman is really going to have to hang with her.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised, though, if Kaufman uses her wrestling to take this fight down to the ground. Her coach, Adam Zuchek, a very talented guy, very intelligent guy, trains with Greg Jackson, so he knows a little something about the fight game, and I'm sure he'll have the perfect game plan against Coenen.
And of course, Miesha Tate is waiting in line for the winner of this bout, but who is it going to be moving on after this?
I think that Sarah Kaufman will win a decision in this fight. I think Coenen is a very talented fighter, but I think Sarah Kaufman has come into her own, and she knows the sky's the limit for herself.
The main card on Saturday night will be rounded out by welterweight action, with All-American former collegiate wrestler Tyrone Woodley entering the Strikeforce cage for the 5th time and looking for his 9th professional victory when he takes on the toughest opponent of his young career in 5-1 Team Nogueira member Andre Galvao. Woodley was taken to the limit this past May, inching past Nathan Coy with a split decision nod. Galvao has victories over Luke Stewart and George Patino thus far in 2010. John, this should be a very, very important welterweight fight for both men. Andre Galvao meeting Tyrone Woodley.
Yeah, it's an interesting matchup because you have a wrestler versus a jiu-jitsu player, and of course in 2010 there's no single guys there. Everybody's a mixed martial arts fighter, but each guy has a strength, and Tyrone Woodley possesses the strength that is the most dominant strength in all of mixed martial arts right now, the wrestling background. He just has to worry about the submission defense. If he uses his wrestling and takes the fight down to the ground, he has to worry about getting caught by Andre Galvao, who's one of the best jiu-jitsu players in all of mixed martial arts. So I think Tyrone Woodley's going to use his wrestling abilities to keep this fight standing and try to outstrike Galvao.
What did you think of Woodley in his last fight? He fought Nathan Coy, who's somewhat unheralded, a very, very close fight, with Woodley getting the win by split decision.
Yeah, again, I remember watching the fight at the time, and I believe that Nathan Coy won the fight, but I went back and I rewatched the fight, and I did give the fight to Woodley. A very, very close matchup, but again, Nathan Coy, a very tough guy too, coming out of Team Quest, so you can never count those guys out. But for Tyrone Woodley, I think he has to really focus on keeping this fight standing if he wants to avoid the submission game, and I think he can do that.
And one of the positives I really think of the matchmaking here is you have KJ Noons and Nick Diaz on top here, and then you have two guys underneath to build future contenders, which I think is necessary, especially when you can put them on the same show.
That's what you have to do. If Strikeforce wants to be in this for a long haul, which I know they do, they have to develop talent, and guys like Tyrone Woodley and Andre Galvao are perfect guys for that, and down the road hopefully they can challenge Nick Diaz for the title if he retains it.
And your pick?
I'm going to have to say it will be Woodley. I think he will use his wrestling skills, and he'll have good enough submission defense to avoid getting tapped out, and he'll win by decision.
That's what he's saying, so take it to the bank and put your money down right now. It's Strikeforce Diaz versus Noons 2 coming up this Saturday night from the HP Pavilion in San Jose, California. On behalf of everyone here at Extreme Couture Toronto, our staff at the Fight Network, he's John Ramdeen, I'm John Pollock. Enjoy the fights on Saturday night.
So, champ, what do you have to say about Nick Diaz?
Hey, you know, I didn't see the way he fought. I'll ask the fans, does he deserve a rematch?
Nick, one comment, man. One comment.
Don't be scared, homie. Come on.